again. I just want to thank you all for joining us today. We have Angela Bayer-Persico, who is going to go over a very interesting presentation. And so I hope that you all are prepared to be fully engaged, as this is a very interactive session today. Angela, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate this. Thank you, all of you who have taken the time to be here in all of our busy, busy lives, which we all have. This is really a topic that's close to my heart. So I'm going to get started. I'm sharing my screen right here. All right. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about what happened to you. A very, very dear topic of mine when we look at things that happened to us in our past affect our lives now. A couple of things about me. I've been educator for more than 26 years. I'm also a mom of 5 and grandmother of 3. So I have personal and professional experience that I speak about. And this particular topic is one that I have researched for several years now. Today, we're going to be examining the relationship between trauma and behavioral patterns that you might struggle to understand why you're doing certain things. So we're going to try to shift our mind from thinking what's wrong with you into what happened to you. And that shift makes more sense and gives you more peace of mind too. We're going to be looking at adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, and the fact that the higher your ACE score, or the rougher the childhood, the more chances you are to have health problems later on. We're going to look at how our past affects our present, but may not have to necessarily predestine our future. All right, we got a couple of objectives which we have to have in order to actually qualify some training. So we're going to discuss what trauma is, we're going to review what ACE is, and we're going to examine short-term and long-term impacts of childhood trauma and apply these discussions to real-life work. All right, well, let's get to it. Wellness guide versus trauma guide and the difference between it. I'm going to stop sharing so I could really take a look at everyone here. Hopefully I have some cameras to see. And no, I do not have too many cameras here available to see, unfortunately. There are quite a few people. Yeah, hi. All right. The difference between looking at a wellness versus a trauma guide to function that. A wellness guide, we all know how to take care of ourselves. We know this. We're not here to take a training on, hey, you got to eat healthy, do your steps, drink your water. You know all that. We know our wellness. We're educators. This is our field. We take care of little humans every day. So I'm not here to tell you how to take care of yourself now, but let's look at it versus a trauma guide. Trauma guide means you are truly taking care of the inside of you. And understanding no is a complete sentence. And understanding when you're listening to your body, we're not trying to be martyrs to take care of everyone and everything. There's something to be said about educators. We as educators are extremely caring people. You need to be caring to be in this field. You need to be attentive and caring for little humans. But unfortunately, we don't seem to care enough about ourselves when we don't stop and listen to our bodies. When our bodies are saying, yeah, we're done, or we need to take a break. And that's where you become the trauma wellness there, trauma guide of really listening to your body. So maybe you came here just to listen to somebody speak. Maybe you came here for some hours that you need trainings on, but maybe you didn't understand what I'm going to give everyone here today. So I'm going to give everyone some homework. And this is homework on you to take care and listen to yourself and how you're feeling all the time. We have, and I have a whole QR code on this one, but before we get into the QR code, I'm going to talk a little bit about ACEs. What ACEs are the adverse childhood experiences that children go through before the age of, let me get this moved on, here we go, before the age of 18. There was a study that was done back in 1984 by Kaiser Permanente and the CDC. They discovered that there was something that was affecting adults that was leading to diabetes, that was leading to high obesity, leading to heart problems, leading to depression, even suicide. And this was something they had not taken into account. They automatically thought, okay, so a smoker will have heart issues, a smoker will have lung issues. But what of those that have never smoked? Why are they having these issues? Well, the issues were the fact that these people had had trauma in their lives. And with this trauma came now debilitating health conditions such as diabetes. To sum up the ACE study, the way that they look at it is think of a moment in your life where you might be scared, where you're agitated. Just presently, even as adults, we go through issues. A couple of weeks ago, I was in a fender bender. And when it happened, the car went out of control and it just skidded on the road. And it was very, very scary. It was extremely scary to me. And my heart started beating really, really fast. I was concerned for my little one who was in the back seat. And I could feel the palms of my hands getting sweaty. All of these reactions are something that happens automatically in your own body. Once found out everything was fine, no one got hurt, the car was fine, everything was good, other people were fine, everyone was fine, my heart rate automatically lowered down. I'm good. But imagine people who live in that state of fear, of anxiousness continually, in that state of fear continually. Well, that's what ACEs is. They discover that children who live in the constant state of fear, fight, flight, or fawn is what it's called. If they're feeling that way continually, their own body is reacting in such a way that it is constantly bringing up a lot of adrenaline into your body, which is what happened to me in that fender bender. You get that sweaty palms, you get the heart racing, the adrenaline's pumping. Your body's ready for an impact. Your body's ready for what might happen. But if you live like that all the time and the adrenaline pumps all the time, what happens in your body is the cortisol is also pumping to try to decrease it. And that in turn is bringing sugars into your body. Bringing too many sugars into your body over a long period of time leads to what we all know, diabetes, heart conditions. So this is what happened to us inside of us, the ACEs study, they came up with 10 questions, which I'm just going to share right here. These are the questions. You may scan them. It's a QR code, so easy to scan. And the questions are very strong. So I do warn, if anyone has any triggers, anyone's feeling any sort of way, feel free to speak to me afterwards. I'm more than available to speak to anyone about this. My first degree was as a therapist, which is why this is something that I speak about with a lot of knowledge. So when the ACEs questionnaires, the 10 questions they came up with, it's you give yourself 1 point for every question that you respond yes to. If you respond yes to, you were hurt, you didn't feel loved, you did not feel as if you had clean clothes, you were not given medical attention when you were a child, if you were abandoned or were a child of divorce, that's also an ACE. As you can see, these 10 questions are pretty profound. They even then talk about physical abuse. If you were ever hit, punched, or if you were ever touched or fondled, or were first to have vaginal, anal, or oral intercourse. All of those questions are on there. So what's proving is the higher the ACE score, the more health problems you can have in the future. For some people who see this and who read this for the first time, they have that aha moment, the moment of, wow, now I understand what's going on with me. And the understanding, that's the first step. The understanding is the first step to moving forward in your life. Like I said already, I felt like this topic was very dear to me. And I researched it, studied it for a long time. And then 3 years ago, I'll tell you the story here. 3 years ago, my life changed. 3 years ago, right around this time of the year, it was Mother's Day. It was actually 4 days before Mother's Day, Thursday before Mother's Day. I had my little one, my little grandchild, come into my life, and her mother came over and dropped her off. She dropped her off for a visit. The visit was going to be till Saturday, from Thursday to Saturday. As it happened, she wound up having car issues that Saturday, and she could not come to pick up her child that Saturday and had to wait till Monday till the car could get into the shop because the following day was Mother's Day and shops are closed Sundays. On Monday, I get a phone call from a caseworker. I'd already spoken to this caseworker because the mother had been under investigation and they wanted to make sure that the child was visiting an appropriate household. So they checked me out, which obviously, as educators, we all have our FBI clearances, we have our first aid, so they were fine for the mother to be coming here and dropping her off. But now the caseworker called me up this Monday and asked me to tell me that when the mother came to pick up her child that day, that I was to give her a call because she was going to be calling the police to pick up my grandchild. I was shocked. I was like, what's going on? What happened? And she said, well, I'm not at liberty to tell you the particulars about this particular case because you're not that person. So, okay, I get it. Privacy, I can't be told certain things. But here you are saying that you're going to take my child into foster care. So I told her, is there any way that we can prevent this? Can the child stay with me longer in a visitation? And she said, with you, the child's fine. We can elongate the visit for about 2 weeks. Okay, fine. I asked her if there was a way to make it more permanent so the child wouldn't go into foster care. She said, well, you can become a foster parent. All right. Learning about the foster parent system, that takes a bit to get into, and the child would still be going into foster care in the meantime. So this was a no-win situation. Any which way, the child was leaving. Little Harley was going to be leaving my care in 2 weeks. So I sat down with my husband and with my son, her father, and the mother, and we discussed what are the best possible solutions, and we spoke with a lawyer. The lawyer said I could get full custody with the parents signing off. We did. Within 2 weeks, everything was done. The child was now, my little one, became to live with me on a full-time permanent basis. What I failed to mention here, though, is some of her aces here, some of her ace score. So now she has no parents, although they'll be involved somewhat. They're 3 states away. So there's one ace score for her. Medical trauma is something that she was also undergoing. Harley was born with bilateral cleft palate. Bilateral cleft palate means that she had, for those of you who don't know, she was an extreme case where she was only had her bottom lip. She had no top lip and no nose. For feeding, which is why she had failure to thrive, for feeding, you literally had to use a syringe. She could not bottle feed because there was no way she can suck and hold a bottle. There was nothing there for her to hold. So she had a lot of medical trauma. She had had a lot of in utero trauma. In uterine trauma is that which deals with the mom, the stresses the mom is feeling. And unfortunately, the mother was also taking methadone to overcome her own addictions. So with this little one, and I'm thinking of her own ACE scores, I was scared and knowing this is what I'm dealing with, and how am I going to help her out? I made sure I'm always looking at her in a certain way. How does she look like inside? Because we as educators, we have a constant habit of putting on a great mask. We do that. And I'm not talking about the makeup we wear. I'm talking about that. Open the door to the parents and you have the smile on your face, even though inside you might be breaking. Inside you're having your own personal issues. And there's no way as humans we can just check and take off our own personal baggage and put it on the side, leave it there, and come back to it. That is really hard to do. What you need to make sure is that inside is being taken care of. Those ACEs, our triggers, our flashbacks, our own life looks the same on the outside as it does inside. We do act in residual ways from when we were kids. The fact is, 60% of people have one ACE score. 25% have 3 or more ACEs. So here in this training, 60% of us have an ACE score. And when I say that statistic, which is the CDC statistic, that is also with the knowledge of that those are underestimates of reality because not everyone wants to put it out there. So the what happened to you, that coined phrase, that was actually coined by a psychologist named Sandra Bloom. I remember having a neighbor years ago. He was about 6 months old when he was bitten horribly by his dog, his own pet dog. I'm not talking about the breed of the dog because we're not going to get, into races of dogs or getting, this bigotry towards certain dogs. Just, it was a dog. He bit him. And when he bit him, his cheek came off his face. It was really bad. I have to say that just so you understand it wasn't just a tiny little bite. It was pretty dramatic. And when he was bitten, he was taken care of, went to a plastic surgeon. The dog was taken care of, sent to a new home, and the child grew up. Plastic surgery, almost perfect, beautiful, beautiful job with these surgeons. Years later, I remember I was out in the front. The child was about 5 or 6 at this point, and he was playing out in the front with the sprinkler and with his mother and his brother. And I was doing some gardening. All of a sudden, I hear the same child screaming and getting really agitated and started crying, panicking, crying. I don't know if you've ever seen a child panic or an adult panic, but it is not a fun thing to see when they were panicking. Ran to his mother, just hiccuping, grabbing. And I looked around, thought maybe he'd seen a snake, maybe something was going on. I lived in Pennsylvania at this point. Thought maybe there's a bear around. I mean, we've seen bears. It wasn't that. Another neighbor was walking their dog. And the dog was just going by. Just the fact of a dog going by triggered in this child a memory, residual memory. Things that happen to children, you may think they don't remember. They do in residual ways. Memories become part of us on a cellular, molecular level, and they change us. This child needed a lot of connection with his mother, and his mother soothed him. That healing, it happens in those small moments. It is that human interaction that is key to regulation, or better yet, co-regulation, because both parties are working together. It is relationships that deal with connections. We can rewire our brains with neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity, let me explain what that topic means. Neuroplasticity is like a forest path that you're just walking down. It's got some, mulch on it, some leaves have fallen, but it's very, very overgrown. So we may walk on it once, but let's say you walk on that same path and more people walk on it. All of a sudden, the path becomes wider and stronger. Neuroplasticity is that you have that one memory that happened, but if you make new pathways through connections, good, positive, healthy connections with other people, you're rewiring your brain. Most people think that healing requires you undoing whatever happened in the past. Well, I'll tell you, that's not possible. You can't erase a past. We're not here as some sort of a Marvel comic book things that we can wipe out the past and move forward. We are here in reality where the past affects us. Back in the 60s, people were trying to be able to erase the past and not deal with some hurtful times. They're trying to do lobotomies to try to rewire their brain. The brain is an incredible organ that we have that researchers and doctors are barely skimming the surface on it. Let me explain one thing that we can do as far as neural connections go. The way that neural connections go, and I wanted to show this. Imagine a ball, those squishy balls, and they bounce back into shape whenever you squish them. But a wire, if we're looking at a wire, those clothes wire hangers, you remember the dry cleaners, those bend under weight, under pressure. So that's where neural connections can always be. You're always changing. You're always moving them. Healing, our own healing, that trauma guide, it occurs with new associations, with neuroplasticity, with new associations, new connections with people. And we need that. We need our people around us. So here we have a test. Yeah, so wow, I'm giving you guys homework and test. Yes, I'm that kind of teacher, that kind of educator and trainer. How resilient are you really? Usually I let this test can take about 15 minutes. I'm going to let you scan it because we are on a time frame and let you download that QR code of that resiliency test. And this is something that you can move further and do that. I want to make sure everyone has a copy of it. I'll leave it on for another couple of seconds there as everyone's getting their cameras and their phones. All right. So we realize now the issue is really in your tissues. First, we need to acknowledge trauma. You need to acknowledge, hey, we have not all had a perfect, incredibly idyllic life. Nothing's utopia. We all have some sort of things that happen to us. So we need to acknowledge that. And then we need to acknowledge, how is it that we're treating ourselves? How are we really working with each other? How are we doing that? And the most important thing here is, who is your person? Relational health speaks as to how healthy you are. So who is your person right now? Who is that person that you go to? Who's that person that you call? For example, my fender bender that I just had a couple of weeks ago, immediately called up my husband. And he was unavailable. Couldn't get in touch with him. So I immediately called up my best friend. Like, oh my God, you can't believe what just happened. You need to have people. We're not islands where we have no connections with other people. Whether your person is your mother, your sister, your neighbor, your friend, your spouse, your partner, whoever that person is, that person gives you hope. About 2,000 years ago, human beings, as human beings, used to live in clans. We lived extremely connected, and we all took care of each other. Whether it was the gatherers, they all gathered together. And yes, it was a matter of safety. Our gatherers and the ones who were helping back within the clan, helping to take care of the children, helping with the meals, and the ones who were gathering the food, they would come back. But it was a matter of everyone worked together. Women, in particular, they had what was called the red tent. Women bonded and helped each other out through all of feminine issues, whether it was the first time that they were menstruating or while they were giving birth. They had all of them around to help them out. Let's look at our lives now. Our lives now, it is so commonplace, unfortunately, to have that single mother with 3 kids. When before in the clan times, you had 12 adults to 1 child, here we have 1 adult to how many children at home? And that one person, that single mom, is responsible for maintaining a job, taking care of the household, putting food on the table, paying the bills, doing everything, and yet then we put on everything else that our society says. Take those 10,000 steps, drink those 64 ounces of water, and make sure you are reading and get to bed on time. And the reality of that, it's impossible. The reality is we need to understand being busy, oh, I'm busy, it's not a badge of honor. It should instead be, I'm busy, but I can make myself unbusy because I need to take care of myself. Your current state of human connection, whoever your person is, however many people you have, and it's not quality. It's not quantity, I'm sorry. It's not quantity, it's quality of that human connection. So however your human connection is, that matters more than any trauma you may have experienced. So I want to tell you a story here. The way I do my trainings is through stories. I feel that that really hits home with everyone. I want you to imagine a little boy. His name is James. James is being put to bed by his mother. His mother's a little stressed, and he could see that his mother's stressed. James is about 3.5 years old, almost 4, to give you some idea of him. And mother puts him down, and she quickly kisses him on the cheek and says goodnight and lights out and walks out of the room. When she walks out of the room, he starts hearing a lot of yelling from the other adult in the household. And he starts getting apprehensive and fearful. His heart starts pumping. His hands get sweaty. His own body starts feeling very cold because the yelling continues, and he hears his mother crying. And more yelling and more crying. Little James doesn't realize when he may have fallen asleep that night. He fell asleep crying himself. The following morning, he wakes up and his mother is shaking him awake. Come on, come on, come on. I'm late. I overslept the alarm. I overslept and we got to get going. I'm late for work. Now, I don't know about you guys, but being woken up like that, for me as an adult, I despise it. I'm groggy in the morning. I just need my moment to get up. But mom's late for work. And she tells him, let's go. Get dressed. Here are your clothes. And he looks down at the clothes his mother's chosen. That's not his favorite shirt. He really wanted his Spider-Man shirt. So he asked Mom, where's my Spider-Man shirt? Oh, that one's dirty. I didn't wash it. All right. He doesn't want to bother Mom because he knows she was crying like last night. He's got some sort of understanding. I don't want to bother Mom. He's not quite making the connection there because he's only 3, but he knows Mom's upset. He gets dressed. There's no time for breakfast, so she grabs some Cheerios and a banana and some milk and gives that to him in the car, in his car seat. Now, he's still tired because he didn't sleep well. So he's sitting down in his car seat. I don't know about you guys, but those things are uncomfortable. They are. So he's eating his Cheerios, minding his own business, when Mom has to slam on the brakes really quickly because a car just sped right in front of her. All of his Cheerios just spilled on the floor. His banana just fell on the floor. Now, there goes his breakfast. His mother gets to childcare now, quickly gets him out of the car seat. She does not notice that his Cheerios are on the floor because she's so involved with taking him quickly, takes him right in, and the educator says, hi, how was last night? Everything good? And she goes, yes, everything's good, and he had breakfast. All right. Meanwhile, little James is like, I really didn't, but he didn't say that out loud. So the educator gives him a nice little pat on the head. You're good. Let's go. It's nice to see you. Let's come on inside. You already had your breakfast, so you can go play. He's hesitant because he really wanted to eat, but he didn't want to say anything. So he goes in and he starts playing. He starts playing with the blocks because that's his favorite thing to do. He loves playing with blocks. So he's there for about 20 minutes building this amazing structure, beautiful structure. And as he's putting the final pieces on this, another child rushes by and knocks over the table, and this whole structure just collapses and falls down. Teacher comes over and says, oh, that's too bad, but we're going to clean up anyway, so maybe you can work on this later. Little James is a little upset, but he's okay. So the promise of later's there. Okay, I'll look at this later. Fine. He cleans up and he's very quiet. His bottom lip's a little, quivering too. He goes, washes his hands because now it's time for snack, and he's really, really hungry. So he washes his hands, goes to sit down, and the teacher has his snack out. It's some nice little crackers and milk, and he's got some apples there, and he's got some water. The teacher's serving him his water. He picks up his water cup, and as he does, he slips out of his hands. It just did. And it fell into the bowl of crackers and cheese and apples. Everything was ruined. He starts crying and crying and crying. And the teacher comes over and says, "Oh, we're going to get you a new plate. It's okay. It's just water. We'll clean it up." But when we think about that, was it just water that fell? Or was it that whole accumulation of everything? Those layers, those layers. What is that movie? Shrek talks about layers, that ogres have layers like onions that you have to peel back and get to it. Well, that's the way I'm looking at trauma, the way I'm looking at behavior with children. It's layers of things that may have happened underneath it. The issue is in your tissues. So our idea here is, are you filling your cup with love or with hate? As adults, we can be very conscious of what we are doing in our lives and how we're living our lives. So one of the things that we need to be very conscious of is, how much love do you carry and how much hate do you carry? And what are you really exposing yourself to continuously? For your own trauma wellness guide. Fill yourself up with love. Take those moments in the morning or evening, whatever, if you're a morning person or night owl, whatever it may be, those moments to just be by yourself and be loved. Love yourself first. We need to love ourselves first before we can love anyone else. We cannot look for love somewhere else. You cannot be completed by someone else. We need to be completed by ourselves. We need to be loved by ourselves. And when we do, that's a start to a great relationship. Because if you're looking for happiness in that great bag, those awesome shoes, the house, the car, that relationship, things are all material. And I'll even say that about relationships. Relationships can end because all life ends. So if your happiness is only based on something or someone else, you need to recalibrate yourself and think, what can I do for me? Because what happened to me or what's happening around me is very, very serious, and I need to take care of me first. No healing can happen from any of the trauma you may have had in your life unless you move forward with this insight, understanding happiness begins with me. So here's your idea of right now. Think of the rocks. Think of that guilt. Think of the shame, the hurt, all of the things that have happened, all the crap that has happened in the past. Drop them, leave them. And maybe at some other point you may need to revisit them and see them again. But just right now, for this moment, say, I can do this. Find your happiness, find your safe space with you first. To become that better educator, to be more in tune with those children, and to be able to be forming those great connections that you need to form with them, you need to start with you first. And attend to yourself first. We in our life already have all the bridges that we need. Bridges are not obstacles. They may be rickety. I don't know about you guys. I once saw a bridge. on this reel on social media. It was a bridge that was just a wooden planks, but there were empty spaces in between the planks. And those wooden planks did not look very, very steady. But despite that, it was a bridge, and it was a bridge that town used all the time. They were carrying big, big, heavy things on their backs, and they would constantly cross that bridge because they needed to get to the other side. On the other side was where the market was, where they could sell their things, their produce. So this village crossed this bridge continuously, no matter how rickety it seemed. So a bridge is needed. Oh, your bridge may be your person that you've connected to. Your bridge may be your experience, your life experience that you've had to know you're not going to do certain things again. To know what path you should take in life. Your bridge may be your own education that has gotten you so far in your own work with the children. Connections build bridges for healing. Now, how do you build connections in your life? Now, I want you to use this QR code and think about, how do you build connections? How are you building connections in your life? What are you doing in your life to build connections? Then we're going to see it in this Mentimeter, what everyone is writing. All right. I'll give you guys a couple of seconds. Give you 10 more seconds as you're all QRing. I guess that's a word, QRing. All right, I'm going to go right in here. And yes, it might be in Spanish, the words there. All you have to do is write a word that you feel is appropriate. How do you build connections? Connections and interactions. How do you build bridges to healing? How do you build connections in your life? Except, hold on. Let's see, it feels, no, why? Sorry, it doesn't seem to be getting, no one's voting on this yet. Oh, there we go. There we go. Social media, checking in, warmth, spending time with people. Yes. Friends, knowing someone. Anybody else want to add anything to it? How do you build your connections in your own personal life? How are you doing that? Focus time. Ooh, I like that. Asking questions. Yeah, because we don't have all the answers. Yes, little humans always are looking up to us, assuming we have all the answers. I don't. Knowing someone, kindness. Have a whole training on kindness and kindness to ourselves. That's what this is about, being kind to yourself. Love. Time one-on-one with people. Music. That's got to be my number one way of building connections, just feeling it. Scheduling time in person. Love that. Games. Okay. And whatever it is that you're doing to build those connections, keep doing it. And maybe you're getting some other ideas here about what you may be doing or what you can do as well. Thank you. I'll go right back to this. Start with a little R-E-S-P-E-C-T. We can belt out and start singing Aretha Franklin here, because you need to respect yourself and remember that no is a complete sentence. Ooh, right there. No is a complete sentence. Even if it means that you're going to go out with a friend and sometimes you're just tired and you need to listen to your body and say, nope, not today, not tonight. No is a complete sentence. Respect yourself. Take care of your body. Love your body. Love yourself. Speak your truth by setting up boundaries. Now, a boundary is interesting to get this definition the other day. A boundary is something that you do, not what you're expecting someone else to do. So your boundary can be someone's yelling or someone's irritated or you're in a situation where you're uncomfortable. Your boundary is, I'm going to walk away from this. My boundary is, I'm not comfortable here. I'm stepping away. That's a boundary. It's something you do to keep yourself safe. Something that you do. Not something you're expecting someone else to do, because no one else knows your boundaries but yourself. Oh, this is cute. I just wanted you to listen to the first line here. Life is like you can be anything you want to be. We tell that to the kids. Don't we tell them they can dream of being anything they want to be? But somewhere along the way, we grew up, and this we have to hear again to remind ourselves that we can be anything we want to be. And you can be strong. And even a butterfly is strong. I was once mountain climbing, and as I was getting up higher and higher in this, in Gran Sasso, it was in Italy. It's called the Gran Sasso Big Mountains. It's Apennine Mountains. And as I'm going up higher and higher, gravel, and air's getting thinner, I looked around and there were these little tiny butterflies who, despite the wind and despite everything, they were there. Something to be said about a butterfly's strength, and you think that it is so weak. Isn't it beautiful to know, just for everyone to just think of this right now, that diamonds are made under pressure? Starts out as a piece of coal. So maybe you're in a stage of your life right now that you need to hear that you may be that coal right now. It can be a diamond. Or maybe you're ready that diamond and you realize, hey, all that pressure, all that stuff I went through made me into who I am right now. When you absolutely trying your best, you love yourself. When you are doing the best you can do, and the best you can do, maybe some days just getting up out of bed, going to work, and coming back home, and that is it. Other days, it may be like, oh, I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to do so much. I'm going to power walk. I'm going to do all this. And there are the days that I feel like, I wish I could just crawl into bed today. And that's it. Whatever your best is, and only you know that. This is an individual project, individual work. Whatever your best is, you love yourself there. It's just always your best. So here, I want you to take a moment and think about, what is it that you are grateful for? Gratitude builds hope. Hope brings healing. So that is why we're going to do this exercise. Usually when I've done this in person, we take some time and I give good 5 minutes of people just writing, and then they interact and talk with each other about what they're grateful for. I can tell you common answers are family, spouse, children, your love, your life. Yeah. But if you write it down, you're seeing it. And that's what I want you to do. See it in black and white. What are you grateful for? And what you may be grateful for right now, other people just yearning for, that's what they're hoping for. We have so much in our lives. We live in a first world country that is, our problems are sometimes just first world, which the restaurant's closed tonight, so which Chinese restaurant am I going to order from? First world problems. Because Mondays it's all closed. Or what do I do now? I've got to take my car into the shop, and how am I going to do that? Well, you know what? First world country. We've got Ubers, we've got everything else. And meanwhile, other people are living in poverty or living in trauma on a daily basis. Our global world has a lot of horrors that it's living through, unfortunately. So for thinking about time, normally what I do here, what are we thinking? Alicia, I normally let them do a gratitude time with a song, but I'm trying to, what time are we wrapping up?
Well, we have 6 minutes, so
Yeah. So I'm not going to do the song. I'll let them be. All right. That's a good song to listen to think about what a wonderful world we actually live in. All right. So, as educators, I thought this was a great quote to bring up. I love Winnie the Pooh. Love Eeyore. I love his depression. I love the fact that everyone accepts him no matter what he's like. But here, this quote, I want everyone to think about this one. Promise me you'll always remember, you're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. We've seen it. We've seen this quote. How about really living it and understanding it and seeing that it's not a child's quote? This is an all human quote. Here I have a resilience workbook for everyone to have. So please, for all of you who already scanned the resilience test, this is now your workbook. This goes hand in hand with it. What I want everyone to take away from here, very, very important, is a key takeaway, is think of your life. Yes, what happened to you, that trauma, those ACEs, yes, we have it. We know it. You acknowledge it. You've been introduced to them, some of you now today for the first time. So what I want you to do is now look at that gratitude that you've written about and think of your life right now. Your life, you can identify what is important. You can create your own roadmap to your own life. You are responsible for your own joy. When you know what happened to you, when you literally do know what happened to you, you understand the role the past has played in your life, and hope begins now. Your hope is now. Thank you. I don't know if anyone had any questions. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure I shared my info if anyone wanted to contact me, which was at the very end. Okay, there's some references. Sorry, I forgot to share that with you. There are some references. Dan Siegel is excellent, and John Hopkins' studies on ACE study is great if anyone wants to do a deeper dive into this. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, that's my information. Okay. And thank you for joining the council. CAN here. Thank you for this. And thank you, Alicia, for having me here too.
You're welcome. Thank you for doing this. This was really good. I even did the did the homework or classwork myself.
Yeah. I feel like when I'm doing a presentation like this, I need to have some sort of interaction and I give them stuff they can take away. And at least it's on their phones, they can easily access it now.
Yeah, no, I thought this was wonderful. I hope everyone else thought so the same. I think we do have like 2 minutes if anybody had any questions. Feel free to, you know, come off of mute or to put it in the chat. Um, we can sit for a little bit in an awkward silence while you
Okay.
think about it.
Thank you. Absolutely. And Hannah said, "Oh, you love her and love this song. Good. I'm glad. I'm glad you like that song. That you be a lover or fighter. Yeah, whatever you desire. Absolutely. I hope you take that to heart, and maybe next time you see it, you'll get it. Okay.
Yeah, Ashton said thank you. She really needed this today. So I think that is
And Elise, thank you. Thank you, Elise. I'm seeing your message. Thank you. I'm glad that you feel reinvigorated. And keep the hope alive and be grateful for what we have right now. Ashton, you're very welcome. I'm glad you needed this today. Glad I was able to help out. Thank you, everyone.